Yo Gotti is officially going down for young Dolph's murder, and he's not taking it well. Things spiraled after Dolph's killer confessed that it was Gotti's brother, Big Juke, who allegedly placed a hit on Dolph's head.
Who had a hit on whose head?
Big Juke had a hit on Dolph's head or whatnot, so...
How much money was it supposed to be?
100,000 on Dolph's head.
Word is, the hit was carried out at Gotti's request, and now things are looking real bad for the rapper. Let me break it all down. When keeping it real goes deadly wrong. This whole thing wasn't supposed to go down like this. Yo Gotti wasn't even in the mix at first. For damn near 2 years, he watched from the sidelines while his name was floating around Dolph's murder case like a dark cloud, but no charges came through until now. So how we get to this point though? Let's run it back. Way back in 2016, word on the street was that some real tension was brewing between Gotti and Dolph. Hood gossip about disrespect, jealousy, and even some females caught up in the drama had the whole city talking. Some fans thought it was just regular rap beef for clout, but real ones knew something way more serious was cooking. The whole war between these Memphis trap legends started back in 2014 when Dolph publicly turned down Yo Gotti's offer to join his collective music group CMG, choosing instead to build up his independent paper route empire, PRE. What started as straight business disagreement turned into one of hip-hop's most deadly feuds, eventually taking out multiple people and destroying everything both these cats worked their whole lives to build. The whole foundation for this destruction got laid in that very first sit-down between these two Memphis heavyweights. Dolph would later spill the tea about how Yo Gotti tried to recruit him, using some real grimy tactics that immediately threw up red flags about what kind of operation CMG was really running.
He sent everybody out the studio, like, let me holler at Dolph. Like, man, you got your own everything, bro. You poppy, like, bro, you got the money, you got your team, you got this, you got that. Like, bro, I'm telling you, we can do this, we can do that. You ain't like Zilla. I ain't gotta hold your hand like Zilla. You ain't like Starlito.
Dolph wasn't impressed with that gist. He was straight up disrespected, and that red flag feeling, he never let that go. The way Gotti just casually threw his own artists under the bus to try to impress Dolph showed something real F*** kept up about how CMG was moving. This wasn't just about signing talent. This was about power, manipulation, and the kind of toxic business moves that been poisoning the hip-hop game for decades.
You gonna really sit and downplay your artist and throw your artist up on the bus to try to persuade me in to come over there? So it's like a red alert the first time I met him.
You feel like
I can't
what are you gonna say
respect that.
about me?
But the disrespect didn't stop there, though. What happened next set off a chain reaction that would eventually lead to bodies dropping in Memphis streets and courtroom drama that had the whole nation watching. Now check this. Wild gist out. Sources close to the case say Yo Gotti offered Dolph $12 million to sign with CMG, and Dolph curved that publicly, loudly, with his chest out.
Did they keep coming at you? You still ain't signing?
Been going on about 4 years.
What's the most they offered you so far?
12 million.
God damn, Dolph.
Did you consider it?
You know I consider it.
That kind of rejection in the music game don't go unpunished, especially in Memphis, where your reputation everything and holding grudges is a way of life. And for Gotti, this wasn't just about a failed business move. This was straight up personal disrespect. The beef went public in 2016 when Dolph dropped his album King of Memphis on the exact same day as Gotti's The Art of Hustle, with that title being seen as a direct shot at Gotti's self-proclaimed status. This wasn't no coincidence. This was a calculated move designed to challenge Gotti's throne in their own city. The competitive energy started manifesting in some real dangerous ways. In March 2016, CMG artist Black Youngstar escalated that gist by posting Instagram videos threatening to put hands on Dolph, even rolling up in Dolph's hood with his whole crew strapped up. What started as lyrical warfare was quickly turning into something way more serious. The music industry always been competitive, but what was happening between CMG and PRE was crossing lines that should never get crossed in legitimate business disputes. By 2017, the beef had escalated to straight-up violence when Dolph dropped Play With Yo Bitch, a devastating diss track that included personal attacks on Yo Gotti. That track was so disrespectful and personal that it basically declared all-out war between the two camps. But what fans didn't realize was that this rap beef was about to turn into something that would make headlines for all the wrong reasons. The violence that followed would shock even the most street-smart observers of hip-hop culture and eventually lead to the courtroom drama that would destroy both empires. So when Dolph started rapping about smashing Gotti's alleged baby mama, fans picked picked sides, the whole city got divided, and CMG's Cold War with Paper Route Empire went from 0 to 100 real quick, but nobody expected that game to end in murder. The first major violent incident went down on February 25th, 2017, when young Dolph's bulletproof whip got lit up in a drive-by shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina, with over 100 rounds fired at that vehicle. By some miracle, Dolph walked away clean and still performed his show that same night, but the message was crystal clear. This had moved way past music. Black Youngstar and 2 of his boys eventually got charged in connection with that Charlotte shooting, though charges against Youngstar got dropped later. That incident was like a preview of the violence that would eventually take young Dolph's life. The pattern was becoming real clear. Everywhere young Dolph went, some dangerous gist seemed to follow. In September 2017, Dolph got shot multiple times outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. While Yo Gotti was initially named as a person of interest because he was at the same hotel, the LAPD cleared him quickly, but the damage was already done. The hip-hop community was watching in horror as 2 of their brightest stars seemed hell-bent on destroying each other, taking their whole crews and communities down with them, until investigators tracked down that getaway whip, and inside that vehicle, traces of a burner phone. And on that phone, messages were going back and forth between some unregistered number and Big Jook, Yo Gotti's own flesh and blood. Anthony Big Jook Mims, Yo Gotti's brother and a high-ranking CMG executive, would later get accused by prosecutors of putting a $100,000 bounty on young Dolph's head. But Big Jook himself would never see trial for these allegations. He got smoked in a targeted shooting in January 2024, before the full scope of his alleged involvement could get exposed in court. The web of violence and payback that started with a rejected record deal had claimed multiple lives and was about to destroy everything that both young Dolph and Yo Gotti had spent their whole careers building. Snitches get stitches, murder, money, and the ultimate setup. The evidence that would eventually bring down Yo Gotti's whole empire didn't come from any fancy police work or federal surveillance operations, nah. That just came from the desperate confessions of broken down cats who had sold their souls for promises that turned out to be straight cap, and who was now facing the reality that their actions had consequences way beyond anything they could have ever imagined. November 17th, 2021 started like any regular day for young Dolph, who was in Memphis doing his annual Thanksgiving turkey giveaway, one of the many ways he gave back to his hood that made people love him. But what homie didn't know was that he was being watched, stalked, and hunted by individuals who had allegedly been recruited and paid to end his whole existence. Young Dolph got hit with 22 shots while buying cookies at Makita's Homemade Butter Cookies in South Memphis, with surveillance footage catching 2 gunmen blasting through the store's window. The brazen nature of that hit, executed in broad daylight at a spot Dolph was known to frequent, immediately told everybody this wasn't no random street violence. This was a carefully planned assassination, straight up. The immediate aftermath sent shockwaves through the Memphis community and the broader hip-hop world. But what nobody realized at the time was that the evidence left behind by them shooters would eventually unravel a conspiracy that reached to the highest levels of the Memphis music industry. 4 cats eventually got charged in connection with Dolph's murder: shooters Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith, alleged mastermind Hernandez Govin, and accessory Jamarcus Johnson. But as the investigation unfolded, a way more sinister picture emerged, one that would implicate some of the biggest names in Memphis hip-hop and reveal a level of betrayal that shocked even the most streetwise observers. The breakthrough in the case came when Cornelius Smith, facing the possibility of life behind bars, decided to cooperate with prosecutors and spill all the tea about how this murder was allegedly orchestrated. His testimony would prove to be absolutely devastating, not just for his co-defendants, but for the entire CMG organization.
All right, so now we've been paid about $800.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is there any other payment coming?
Nah, all the payment stopped then.
All the payments stopped.
Everything stopped.
The cruel irony of Smith's testimony was almost too painful to process. Here was a cat who had allegedly sold his soul and took a life for some bread, ultimately receiving a measly $800 for destroying not only young Dolph's future but his own damn self. The promises of riches and record deals that allegedly motivated this heinous act proved to be nothing more than empty words designed to manipulate desperate individuals into committing murder. During Justin Johnson's trial in September 2024, prosecutors alleged that Big Jook had offered a $100,000 hit on young Dolph to Johnson, Smith, and Hernandez Govin, with the hit allegedly tied to securing a recording deal with CMG. This wasn't just about street beef or artistic rivalry. This was allegedly a calculated business decision made by someone at the highest levels of one of the South's most successful record labels. The prosecution's theory was that the entire plot was motivated by the ongoing beef between CMG and Paper Route Enterprise, with Big Jook allegedly viewing the elimination of young Dolph as a way to secure his brother's Murder's dominance in the Memphis rap scene, while simultaneously offering Justin Johnson a pathway to stardom through a CMG recording contract.
He said he had got a little package from his homeboy so we could have some money in our pocket or whatever. And I would come back from Atlanta, so I I like 2 hours out. So I like, man, I don't want him to just put it in the mailbox. But he said he had a letter with it too. And I know it'd be too many folks in my dad's neighborhood still be seeing what put in the mailbox and go back. So I told him to give it to the lady in the door who like a grandma figure to me or whatever, and he gave her $500 in a letter.
The testimony revealed the disturbing level of surveillance and planning that went into this hit. Smith testified that he and Johnson had been tracking Dolph during his Thanksgiving turkey giveaway events in Memphis, knowing he would be vulnerable without heavy security. The fact that they used Dolph's charitable activities, his efforts to give back to his community, as an opportunity to murder him adds an extra layer of coldness to this already horrific crime. But perhaps the most shocking revelation came when Smith testified about who allegedly paid his legal fees after the murder. Smith admitted that someone from CMG paid $50,000 for his legal representation, though he couldn't identify exactly who arranged that payment. This claim, if true, would suggest that the alleged conspiracy extended beyond just the planning and execution of the murder to include efforts to cover it up and protect those involved. The implications of this testimony were absolutely crazy. If prosecutors could prove that CMG had not only allegedly orchestrated the murder, but also paid to cover it up, it would transform what might have been viewed as a street beef gone wrong into a full-scale criminal conspiracy involving some of the most prominent figures in Southern hip-hop. The prosecutors alleged that Big Jook and Govan had invited Johnson to Atlanta to discuss signing with CMG, with the suggestion that killing Dolph was necessary to secure the deal. This wasn't just about money. This was allegedly about using murder as a business strategy, eliminating competition through assassination rather than artistic merit. The trial also revealed disturbing details about how the conspiracy allegedly unfolded. Smith testified that after the shooting, Johnson allegedly contacted Big Jook via FaceTime to confirm that the hit had been successful. The casual, business-like nature of this alleged communication speaks to a level of premeditation and calculation that goes way beyond typical street violence. On September 26, 2024, Justin Johnson got found guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm, receiving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. His conviction marked a crucial victory for justice, but it also opened the floodgates for even more damaging revelations about the extent of the alleged conspiracy. The most shocking twist in this entire saga came on January 13, 2024, when the tables turned in the most dramatic way possible. Anthony Big Jook Mims himself got smoked in a targeted shooting outside a Memphis restaurant while attending a repast following a relative's funeral. The cat who prosecutors alleged had orchestrated young Dolph's murder was himself gunned down before he could ever be charged or face trial for his alleged crimes. The irony wasn't lost on nobody following this case. Here was a dude who had allegedly used violence to solve his problems, ultimately becoming a victim of the very same cycle of payback that he had allegedly set in motion. Big Jook's murder remains unsolved as of August 2025, with police having no suspects and the investigation ongoing. The timing of Big Jook's death, coming just months before the trial that would expose his alleged role in young Dolph's murder, led many to speculate that his killing was an act of retaliation. Whether this speculation proves accurate or not, it serves as a stark reminder of how violence begets violence, and how the cycle of payback in the streets rarely ends until everyone involved is either dead or locked up. But the revelations didn't stop with Big Jook's death. As the legal proceedings continued, more evidence emerged suggesting that the alleged conspiracy may have been even broader than initially thought. Prosecutors revealed that Big Jook had allegedly placed bounties on multiple Paper Route Empire artists, including a $50,000 hit on Key Glock, young Dolph's cousin and protege. The scope of the alleged conspiracy was mind-blowing. This wasn't just about eliminating one competitor. It was allegedly about systematically targeting an entire organization and everyone associated with it. The level of planning and resources allegedly devoted to this campaign of violence speaks to something way more organized and sinister than typical industry rivalry.
I was at home. Laying down, actually. Yeah.
And did somebody call you or?
Somebody called me in the house. Like, you know how you can hear when somebody call your name, like the tone of their voice, like you know something wrong, you just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
The pain in Key Glock's voice when he describes learning about his cousin's death is absolutely heartbreaking. Here was a young cat who had looked up to Dolph not just as a musical mentor, but as a father figure, suddenly forced to deal with the violent loss of the most important person in his life. But perhaps the most devastating aspect of this entire conspiracy was how it had corrupted everything that hip-hop was supposed to represent. Here were successful businessmen and recording artists allegedly using murder as a tool for eliminating competition and settling disputes. The romantic notion of hip-hop as a way out of the hood was being replaced by the harsh reality that sometimes the streets followed the artists into their boardrooms and recording studios. As more details emerged from the trial, it became clear that the alleged conspiracy reached way beyond just the individuals directly involved in the murder. The prosecution's case suggested a pattern of criminal behavior that went to the very heart of how certain segments of the music industry were allegedly operating. The streets don't forget ripple effects, retaliation, and the real cost of keeping it 100. When that gavel dropped and them verdicts got read, it wasn't just about justice being served or cats getting what they deserved. Nah, fam, what really went down was the beginning of a chain reaction that would shake the entire hip-hop game to its foundation and show everybody just how deep this rabbit hole really went. See, the death of young Dolph didn't just take out one of the realest independent artists in the game. That just created a void that sent shockwaves through every level of the Memphis hip-hop scene, from the trap houses to the penthouse suites, and the aftermath revealed just how interconnected and dangerous this whole web of relationships really was. The conviction of Justin Johnson on September 26, 2024, marked just the first domino to fall in what would become a cascading series of consequences that nobody saw coming. Johnson's life sentence without parole was just the opening act in what promises to be a long-running drama that's going to keep claiming victims for years to come. But here's where things get really crazy. Hernandez Govan, who prosecutors say was the key organizer and the connection between Big Jook and the actual shooters, is still scheduled to face trial on August 18, 2025. This trial could potentially expose even more damaging information about the alleged conspiracy and reveal just how many people in the Memphis music scene might have been involved in this mess. Govan has rejected multiple plea deals, including one offered in December 2024, choosing instead to fight these charges in court. His decision to go to trial rather than take a plea deal suggests either he's confident in his innocence or he's calculated that the evidence against him might not be as strong as prosecutors think it is. The streets have been watching this whole situation unfold, and the word is that Govan's trial could drop some serious bombshells about who else might have been involved in this conspiracy. Sources close to the case been hinting that the evidence might reach way higher up the food chain than anybody previously thought. But let's talk about the real gist that's been happening since Dolph got taken out. The ripple effects from his murder have been like a stone thrown into a pond. The waves just keep spreading outward, touching lives and destroying relationships in ways that most people can't even comprehend. Music industry manager Wack 100 publicly warned Yo Gotti to say his prayers, speculating that federal prosecutors could pursue RICO charges against CMG as a criminal organization. While no such charges have been filed as of August 2025, the mere possibility has sent shockwaves through the music industry and created a climate of fear and suspicion that's affecting everyone connected to the Memphis scene. The implications of a potential RICO case against CMG would be absolutely devastating for everyone involved. Such charges could effectively dismantle the entire organization, freeze all their assets, and result in lengthy prison sentences for anyone found to be part of an alleged criminal enterprise. Even cats who thought they was clean and just making music could find themselves caught up in a federal investigation that destroys their whole livelihood. But the legal troubles are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the fallout from this situation. The negative publicity surrounding these allegations has completely destroyed CMG's ability to conduct normal business operations. When your record label becomes associated with murder-for-hire allegations, it becomes damn near impossible to attract new talent, maintain corporate partnerships, or even keep the artists you already got signed. Think about it. Would you want to sign with a label that's been accused of murdering their competition? Would you want to do business with cats who allegedly solve their problems with bullets instead of lawyers? The answer is obvious, and that's why CMG's empire has been crumbling from the inside out. The revelation that Big Jook had allegedly placed bounties on multiple Paper Route Empire artists, including Key Glock, has created a climate of paranoia and fear throughout the Memphis hip-hop community. Artists, producers, managers, and other industry professionals are all wondering whether they might be the next target, and that kind of fear is toxic to creativity and collaboration. generation. The psychological toll on everyone involved in this situation cannot be overstated. Imagine being Key Glock, finding out that there was allegedly a $50,000 bounty on your head just because of your association with young Dolph. That kind of knowledge changes how you move, who you trust, and how you conduct your daily life. It turns every stranger into a potential threat and every business meeting into a possible setup. The true victims of this entire saga are not just young Dolph and Big Juke, though their deaths remain the most visible and tragic outcomes. The real victims include all the young people who looked up to these figures as role models, the communities that have been torn apart by violence and mistrust, and the entire hip-hop culture that has been tainted by these allegations of criminal conspiracy. The cycle of retaliation that began with this murder shows no signs of stopping. Each act of violence creates the justification for the next, and the streets have long memories when it comes to settling scores. The death of Big Juke may have been seen as justice by some, but it also created new enemies and new reasons for revenge that could keep this cycle going for generations. This is the real cost of keeping it 100 when 100 means murder. The streets have claimed their victims, but the true tragedy is that the killing isn't over. As long as the cycle of retaliation continues, more lives will be lost, more families will be destroyed, and more communities will be torn apart by violence that serves no purpose except to feed the hunger for revenge that never seems to be satisfied. The ultimate lesson of this tragedy is that there are no winners in a war where the weapons are real and the casualties are permanent. The beef between young Dolph and Gotti may have started as a business dispute, but it ended with multiple people dead and entire communities traumatized. The cost of this violence will be paid for generations to come, long after the headlines have faded and the court cases have ended. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.